Yeah, Zachariah, just to start, going back to when you were in the portal, what was it about Georgia that really interested you and why you ultimately decided to come to Georgia?
Yes, sir. A lot of things that impacted me to come to University of Georgia. First and foremost, I would say the culture that Coach Kirby Smart and the coaching staff has established. I feel like it's a real brotherhood, and it's not just words. Some people just say, okay, we have to have the bond and the things like that to be a great team. But I really do truly believe that. They built that into this program, and they've consistently done it year after year. And just to be surrounded by a lot of like-minded players as well. All trying to get toward the same goal is something that is really important to me as well. And once I got into that portal, it was pretty easy to make my decision from there.
Going off the back of that, Dylan Bell was just in here and said he personally wanted you to come to Georgia, was a big part of your process. What were those conversations like, and what did that mean to you, have another fellow receiver recruiting you to come join them?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely was big. To have that team camaraderie, like I said, that brotherhood, to know that somebody else in that room, wants me to be in there with them, to help the team and to, get each other better as well. Because we always learn from everybody. You can always take a nugget from somebody. So just talking to those guys, even the older guys as well. Dom and Arian, just hearing everybody's experience, and Dylan Bell, whether he was going to stay or if he was going to go to the NFL after this year. And it was just pretty cool just to get a chance to hear everybody's experience, to help me out make my decision a little bit easier as well.
What has been the hardest thing about adjusting to the program here, the culture here, and how far do you think you've come over the past 3 or 4 weeks just since spring practice has started?
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like, everything's an adjustment, just coming from a new spot, getting acclimated to the living situation, coming from California, the weather, the pollen, man. Hey, that pollen is crazy. I got a car wash. I came back out like, man, I shouldn't even have got the car wash. But, I had a good time, with the guys. Everybody's embracing me, the wide receiver room, the coaches, everybody in the staff, nutrition, like you name it, the trainers as well. So it made my welcome pretty easy, the transition, just trying to get better every day and try to be the best version of myself for the team.
Yeah, when you were at USC, what was sort of the outside perception of what you thought UGA might be like, and how has your time here sort of matched up or changed it at all?
If I'm being honest, I wasn't really focused on what other teams were doing. I was trying to, be the best for the team that I was on at the time. But as I got to UGA, it kind of reminds me a lot of how I was at Bishop Gorman. We had a kind of established culture as well. In high school, like when I remember my freshman year when I came into Bishop Gorman, there was a high standard. Like dudes running around, and freshmen, they had to really earn their stripes. And Coach Kirby has that same pedigree that kind of reminded me back to how I was in high school and how I came up and how I was growing up. My household, my parents hold me accountable, whether it's academics, athletically. So this program just really reminded me of how my upbringing was. And, to get to that next level, I felt like this was the best step for me.
You obviously played, in an offense at USC that was successful, and then going back to high school at Bishop Gorman. I guess I'm curious to. We hear a lot about Georgia kind of having a pro-style offense. What are some of the biggest differences that you've seen playing receiver here so far between other systems you've been in the past?
Definitely a lot of the hand signals and things like that. Being able to dissect the hand signals, the motions, the shifts, different things like that. Being able to, read that faster and things like that. We didn't have a lot of that many hand signals. Being a different type of offense, like you said, from high school to the previous school I was at to now. But I'm definitely adjusting and having a good time, spending time extra in the film room. With the GAs, with the receiver coaches, and sometimes extra receivers as well. Just getting a chance to get as much in as I can. So when I get on the field, then it's second nature.
What kind of impact do you think you might make as a returner for Georgia? And did teams kind of scheme you better as a sophomore at USC, or you had some big numbers as a freshman?
I really just was out there every time trying to do the best for my team. That's the same thing that I'm going to be planning on doing here. Wherever the coaches need me, whether it's offense, special teams, as a returner, that's my goal is be the best version of myself at that play, at that unit, at that rep. To be able to help the team reach the goal that we want.
Yeah, what have been your impressions of Gunner Stockton, and how have you two sort of built a relationship to this point?
Oh yeah, Gunner Stockton. I knew he was a dog since we started off in the workouts. I can tell easily from the work ethic and how you prepare yourself to go out there and be the best version of yourself. I can definitely tell that he was really trying to compete every rep. When we're doing conditioning, he's really trying to win, trying to push himself to be the best version of himself, and that's what I like to surround myself around. So me and Gunner, we clicked off pretty early. Got a chance to get on the same page, ran some routes, you know, on our own time just to get that chemistry down. And, you know, he's been a real help for me in this offense as well, too.
I imagine for a lot of Georgia fans, they may not be familiar with your game. They may see it at G-Day for the first time. How would you describe what you bring to the receiver position and what you're looking to do on any given play?
I wouldn't even say just how I play. I would just say my mentality. You know, every time I'm out there, I try to just be the best version of myself for the team. You know, try to go 100% effort because you never know when your last play is. So, you know, I just try to treat everything like a blessing. You know, I get the opportunity to go out here every day and do something that I love. So, you know, I just try to bring that fire and that passion into the sport that I try to bring to the receiver group.
Yeah, when you and your brother were transferring, how important was it for you two to play together, and what does he bring to this team?
Oh yeah, you know, shoot, that's my brother right there, man. That's my best friend. So, just to be able to chance to, you know, grow with him as a person my whole life, you know, from little league to high school to USC and now to Georgia together is something that's special. You know, a lot of people don't get a chance to do that. So, you know, we're definitely blessed for that. But, you know, we like to hold each other accountable in everything that we do. When we were kids, we used to, like, try to compete with whoever was going to drink they shake the fastest and things like that. So, you know, we always grew up just competing back and forth. And, you know, shoot, like I said, this program, I feel like has already established that culture and that toughness and that mentality. So, you know, I feel like it's just going to sharpen each other up as we keep going through the journey.
Somebody mentioned Dylan Bell earlier. What have you seen from him during spring practice, especially as the veteran in the receiver room and just a guy with a lot of experience?
Oh yeah, no, he's a great guy. He's a great player as well. You know, he brings that passion and fire as well, you know, to the group, and he's done a great job, you know, helping me learn the offense as well. So I definitely do appreciate him and, you know, everything that he's helped me get to throughout this process. You know, he's doing real good out there, and I'm trying to learn a lot from him as well.
What was Georgia's pitch for you when you were in the portal in terms of why they thought you could help their offense?
They just felt like I was an explosive player and, you know, also a great person off the field. You know, who could be a great fit in the locker room, you know, to help encourage certain guys to ultimately reach that goal towards the end of the season. That was something that they really told me. They felt like me and my brother both were great people as well as players, you know, so I just felt like I wanted to get a chance to be a part of that tradition and that culture at Georgia.
I know you talked about seeing Gunner Stockton compete in workouts. What all did you know about Georgia's offense, and specifically the quarterback situation before you announced your commitment to Georgia?
I didn't know too much about it. I just saw that you know, he came in that SEC championship game, and so he did his thing. So you know, I saw that and I was like, okay. I watched him throughout the practices when I came up here on the visit, and I saw his work ethic and his fire in practice, and that's something that caught my eye as well. And then shoot, like when it tied into everything else that the culture brings and the program brings, and having him at quarterback, it was something that, you know, I was really interested in.
Going back to your brother, how do you feel like he has settled in here at Georgia, and what would you tell folks about how he plays defensive back position?
Oh yeah, I feel like he's been settling in pretty good as well. You know, just getting a chance to learn everything, you know, knowing the ins and outs of the defense, just getting a chance to get reps versus the best players every day, you know, getting a chance to really compete. Like everybody on the team gets a chance to compete 100%. So I feel like he's doing real good so far. Me and him are both holding each other accountable, getting all the extra film in, recovery, extra work. So, you know, we're just making sure that we're taking advantage of everything that is given to us.
You, your brother, Nate Frazier, Bo Gardner from UCLA. A lot of California guys lining up and going to California to come to Georgia. What's going on?
It's crazy. I actually been knowing Nate Frazier since I was like 8, 9 years old. Me and Nate, we were running track against each other since we were little. So it was actually crazy when I was taking my visit. Nate came to dinner and we were just joking about that. Like, hey, you remember we was running the 200 in Arizona? We was 9, 10. So we've been knowing each other for pretty much a while. So it's been pretty cool to, you know, have those moments come full circle. And Ernest as well from St. John Bosco, been knowing him for a little bit too. So you know, it's pretty cool having West Coast guys. Can't forget my guy D Hill too, all from Vegas. So it's pretty cool to have that West Coast too. Let them know we still here, man.
Any more for Zachariah? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Zachariah.
Thank you.